business. And we are looking forward to the discussion and the presentation. And our moderator for this is going to be Jordan.
I just want to mention one thing, that this is a great event. I'm very impressed by this, but I have one favor to ask on behalf of the facility. Even if you like this, please don't steal your chairs and take them home with you like they did. As a souvenir. Well, we've got quite a panel today, a variety of business leaders, both locally and internationally, going to talk a little bit about their backgrounds in exporting and their thoughts. And I kind of want to use this as an inspiration to everyone else, basically going to school on what they did. We're going to ask them what worked, what didn't work, and I want everybody to glean a little something from each of these speakers to file back in your noggin to help promote growing our regional economy by exporting. So I think we'll begin. We'll just start here in the beginning. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, I'm Olson. I've lived in Mora all my life, and I'm mostly involved now with a company called Northland Automation and Engineering. We'll show you a little video about what we do, because I can stand up here and talk about what we do till the cows come home, and one would think if I'm working on popcorn machines that I make these little square things that you got the pan in and you turn them on and go pop, 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 pop. Well, not exactly what we do, so we'll show you a video here and of the machine that we've done mainly recently. And what it does is package microwave popcorn, and it's the fastest, and that was done in our shop just as we were finishing up the machine before it shipped, so the glass doors weren't on, the covering was still in the stainless steel. But it'll make package, starting off with a roll of printed paper, winds up packaging 300 bags a minute of microwave popcorn. So you start off with a roll of paper, form the bag, fill it, seal it at 300 a minute. The next fastest machine in the world, it does 150 a minute, and I worked on that one about 15 years ago. So, and to give a little bit of an indication of what these things do, the part on the left-hand end where you see that drum turning around and then the next double vertical post, that's what we call a bag former, and we have, the farthest one away is in Valencia, Spain. But that machine will make 450 bags a minute. And the first two went out about 3.5 years ago to a company down in St. Louis. Each of those machines has run over half a billion bags, half a billion with a B. So each of them would have run enough paper to go around the earth 4 times. And we have put less than $4,000 worth of parts into those machines total in the years that they've been out. So those are the bag former part. We've been able to sell those to anyone. So we have a few of those around the U.S. and one in Spain. The packaging part of the machine, that slows it down a little bit, but it slows it down more because of downstream equipment. That does the packaging at 300 bags a minute. A couple of the interesting statistics about that. So that machine, as you see it running there, will package nearly 400,000 bags a day. And to put that in perspective, it's about a little less than a semi-load of raw corn in 12 hours. So, and one of the other interesting little facts about that is that this bag former part of the machine, we can shorten the bag because it's more accurate than the previous machines. Shorten the bag by about 1/8 of an inch and still keep the integrity of our bottom seal as well or better than it was before. To the company that's bought most of these machines, 1/8 of an inch of paper per bag represents 7 miles of paper a day and about $15 million a year in savings. So that is mainly our main business, and you can kind of watch what things happen. It's a small business, just a few of us. I'm an electrical engineer, and I've got a son who's electrical engineer in computer science, and another son that's a mechanical engineer, and another son-in-law that's electrical engineer. So we're fairly engineering heavy and are quite creative. I guess one of the things that we say in our company is I don't want to be a me-too company. By that I mean a lot of companies will design, or you'll see a machine, they'll design a machine, you'll see somebody else's machine, that some widget that'll make X number of things a minute. So then a lot of other companies want to make X plus 1.1, 10% better or something. I say, if we can't blow them out of market, I don't want to do it. So that's kind of the way we look at things, and I get frustrated with the downstream equipment, because when you start off with a roll of paper, the corn and oil comes in to the room, and after this, machine goes through a metal detector, weigh checker, wrapper that puts a cellophane around, goes into a cartoner, and those machines jam all the time, they drive me nuts. So anyway, that's part of what we do. I guess the other thing, we do a little bit of everything. I also farm about 1,300 tillable acres in my spare time. That's another business of ours. I also own and operated a grain storage and drying facility here east of town. We're also just getting started in a new microwave popcorn venture of our own brand, which is a different type of thing. We're using a liquid sunflower oil in bags, so that's been our biggest challenge, is to somehow try to keep liquid oil in a paper bag. We're getting there. So that's the other business. Oh, and I guess the fifth business that I just want to mention has been for the last week and a half is a snow spreading and distribution system. It's not very lucrative. We certainly worked hard at it for the last 2 months. So with that, I think that's kind of my history. I guess I can go way back and say when I was in college, went to the University of Minnesota on the Minneapolis campus. To date me a little bit, as an honors project at the University of Minnesota Electrical Engineering, I made one of the first electronic calculators that was ever made. So, and when I did that, interestingly enough, when I went to find components, just one little 7-segment LED, which is just the little lights that form an 8 that they're all on, one of them was $18. Just one display. So if you had some computer calculator like you have now that has 10, 20 digits wide, just that would be a lot of money just to show what the thing finally figures out. So that dates me. I was back in the days of the slider rule era and decided, there again, said, we can do this better. So that's what we did. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is, Mark, I can relate to your problem before when you were looking at the machine. I thought, yeah, that worked yesterday.
Thank you for inviting me to you here in Mora, US. My name is Jonas Esteen. I'm born and raised in a town called Mora, back in Sweden. Do we have another Swedes around here? I know Per. Oh wow, great. Last week I was down in Africa, and down there I cracked my eardrum, so I hope you can excuse me a little if I'm speaking not so clear, because I don't hear anything at all on the right side. It was a tough flight in to Minneapolis, but it's great to be here. And my background is that me and my brother is running our grandparents' company back in Sweden. They started a car dealership back in 1942, selling, what can you guess which brand? Volvo, of course, the world's best car. But they're also selling Renault. Do you like Renault? They are from France. They are a good brand back in Europe. And we're selling Nissan and Dacia. You never heard about Dacia. That's an Eastern East Europe car producer owned by Nissan. However, we are running 3 car dealerships in the area of Dala, and you know Vasaloppet in Sweden is 90k long, from Sälen down to Mora. So we are in the area where we are skiing. And we have 47% market share, and that's pretty good in Sweden. And we are very willing to invest in other businesses and companies. And back in 2010, the bank came to us and told us that it was a catastrophe with the Dala horse production in Sweden. They were running bankrupt. So we looked into that case and realized it was very interesting. To have a Dala horse in the company, producing them, it was open doors for us. Even the Pope, we sold the Dala horse to the Pope 2 years ago. I wasn't the one that gave it to him, but the Swedish Chamber of Commerce went down to Rome and gave it to him. But when we went into the industry, we did a serious misjudgment. We thought that we needed to keep the old owners in the company because we didn't know anything about horses. And that was a big mistake. Now, from 2010, we have 100% of this company. I have so many stories about it. You know, in Swedish, handicraft, this is handicraft, you know, but in Sweden it's hemslöjd. And the website, Nils Olsson, hemslöjd, is no handicraft. That was a website, no hemslöjd. So it was wrong, everything was wrong from the beginning. In our shop, we were selling a lot of what I call trash. Do you know who has produced this one? China. This one, 75 Swedish crowns. China. It was nothing that was related to the true Swedish tradition, the Dala horses. I have plenty of examples. Keyrings, directly from China. The problem is in some way that the tourists that are coming up to our area, they want to buy these things, but it was not our brand. So we have tried to clear that up a lot. And today, we are 17 employees in this company. We have a good management. We are producing 100,000 horses, like that, from the size of 3 centimeters up to 2 meters, as tall as I am, 6'5". Our annual sales is $2.5 million US. 20% goes directly on export to China. That's amazing. And US, of course, and all over around the world. But what we have seen now, we started a web shop 2017, and the first year we were selling for the amount of $80,000 US. So what we see is that all our growth is coming from the web today. And that's really important, I would say. And my big task in my life is to focusing on the brand, Nils Olsson. Of course, we are looking into, you may laugh, but Ralph Lauren, you see my shirt I have here, we want to put our horses on different clothes and increase the value of the brand. And slowly, of course, raising the price also. Because you don't earn anything on these ones from China, but on a true horse, selling directly on the net, that gives us a good margin. I think I am there, so I can hear questions later on. So thank you very much for inviting me.
As you can see, my name is Marty Carlson. I can stand up, but the higher I get above you, the less comfortable I am. So I think I'll just sit right here and look more straight across at you. My wife Peggy and I started Tamarack Habilitation Technologies in 1990. And At first, we only did custom care and fabrication of orthoses, that's braces and artificial limbs for patients that came to us. We also did adaptive equipment, wheelchair seating support for people. Our specialty was to work with people that were severely and multiply handicapped, and in that process we learned a lot and just kept trying to solve problems, work innovatively, and so on. About 3 years later, we started to develop what we felt was a product that would be very useful to the industry that we were part of. It's a family, it was the first in a family of products that are used in creating a movement or a joint action in lower limb braces. We came up with the first of that family of joints in 1995, in the spring of 1995. We went to a national exhibition and had a table where we displayed that product, and I immediately had distributors, national and international distributors, lining up at my table trying to get appointments to work out that they could distribute this new line of products. Excuse me. I had no experience in commercialization, really, and distribution, setting up distributions, things like that. So I went across the room to a fellow that I knew was both manufacturing and distributing, and told him, or asked him, you know, can you take care of these guys, you know? And he was very anxious to go ahead and distribute our product. And so I sent all these distributors, representatives over to his table, and I couldn't relax. That company was Becker Orthopedic Appliance Company, and they manufactured components actually that competed with mine, but they had a worldwide distributor presence, and so that was our easy way to get into a global market. We did have to do CE marking for Europe, and part of that is meeting the International Standards Organization requirements. We're certified ISO 13485, which is a medical ISO certification. And so that's how we got into it. As we developed other products for the rehab industry and now the sports industry, we tackled the distribution, the national and global distribution ourselves because we had at that point a little more money to do that, and so we've got distributors for some of our friction reduction materials in Australia and Japan. The latest I heard yesterday was in Thailand, but certainly the most important exports are to Canada, Mexico, and Europe. Japan's also a good market for us. And in 2000, my wife and I gifted the patient care part of our operation to Fairview Health services. And we just focused on manufacturing, designing, innovating around more mass-produced products such as the Tamarack flexure joint and shear band and glide wear. And currently, we're in negotiation we just signed a license with a company called MIPS, Multiple Impact. I don't remember what all those initials stood for, but MIPS is a company that in Stockholm from the Karolinska Institute, the neurologists discovered and established that the glancing impact on sports helmets is connected with has a strong connection with concussions, and so our glide wear material is going to start going into helmets for people that wear biking helmets, and then they're also going to go into hockey helmets and football helmets. So that's a very important connection with Sweden for us. We also, as it turns out, there's a very large and prominent Swedish company headquartered in the Stockholm area that is active in wheelchairs and wheelchair cushions and other rehab equipment. And we're going to be meeting them next month in Vancouver to show them our wheelchair technology and our seating technology, in particular the glide wear that is used strategically to eliminate friction in areas that tend to cause pressure wounds, what's called pressure wounds, which are actually not just pressure wounds, they're friction shear wounds and things like that. So our technology is the opposite sort of Don's because it's very simple technology. It's technology around things that have hidden in plain sight, you might say. We all know that we all have had blisters from rubbing. Well, what's the damaging part of rubbing is the friction. And so if you can take an approach to eliminate friction only where it's a problem, it can be very, very useful both for sports, for workmen, but especially for people who function in wheelchairs and for people that spend a lot of time in bed to avoid generating wounds. So that's our focus these days, and we really are hoping that these connections with Sweden, they weren't engineered to be that way, but that's where they are right now. Our most interesting connections are with these two companies in Stockholm. Don does the very difficult engineering, very fast-moving, wonderful machines, and when we started to move a little bit of our operation up to Mora, I was lucky to know about Don and his family and their capabilities, and so visited him early on, and he and his sons and his crew have designed and built a machine for us to mass produce the raw material that's used for manufacturing and incorporating glideware technology. You can see some of the examples of both the joint technology and glideware and shear band technology on our table back there. I think that's enough. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Gary Syvertsen. I'm glad to be on the panel, and thank you for inviting me. I am president of OlymPak Printing and Packaging, which everybody that lives in this town knows is the old finger hut plant. And we've been in there since 2000. And I want to give you a little overview of who the company is, was, and what it is today. The company originally started out as called Mellow Smellow, and the name was generated from the fact that the original owner, John Miner, and his wife Leah, worked in conjunction with the 3M company and invented the original scratch and smell stickers. And it's amazing how, if you all remember how popular those were through the 80s, and that's what geared the company was to do products for kids, seasonal and everyday products that would make things fun for them and make fun products. Well, today the company has grown in different aspects, and it's basically grown from the need of our customers, our ideas to change the face of the company and not just make seasonal products for kids. You simply can't anymore. So the company today is called Mora Industries. John Miner's son and his wife purchased the company. We have 6 divisions in our company today. We have the Mellow Smellow Retail Group, which their products we make. These are typical products that we make for the Valentine. We make Valentines and Valentine cards for the Valentine season for school kids. We have a group called Kids Incentives, and I'm going to spend so much of this marketing material I'm going to read from it. Kids Incentives, they plan, develop, and execute kid-focused custom promotional programs for packaged good companies in the quick serve restaurant industry. Some of their customers are Popeyes, In-N-Out Burger, places like that. Then we have a group called Mission Nutrition, which manufactures and markets educational and nutritional themed lunch sacks and promotional items in nearly 20,000 school districts across the country to help them promote school menus. And we have another group now called Notables, which means, the name means no tables. So what that means is we have nutritionally conscious, cost-effective, and eco-sensitive prepackaged food for school children that don't have a breakfast or a lunch at home, but they can come in and it could be a prepackaged meal, which is it has a juice and a snack and a cereal in some cases, and it's just a nutritional package of good food that isn't fast and it isn't full of soda pop and things like that. And then our other division is called Safety Stop, which manufactures and markets safety-themed materials for pupil transportation. So we're very oriented still towards the children's and preteen and teenage markets, but it's in different aspects that can help them as they continue to grow and become regular citizens of the grown-up adult sections. Now, OlymPak, we have been growing in this company up in Mora for many, many years, and unfortunately, as we deal with the big retail giants of the country who are some of our customers, a list of our customers, I should say, is Walmart, Walgreens, Target, Kroger, CVS, Chick-fil-A, Taco Bell, Wendy's, Williams-Sonoma, companies like that. We ship all over the country. And when you have the big box retailers, they're constantly pressuring you for price reduction. And unfortunately, about 2 years ago, we got to the point where
World Exhibition in New York, 1939. And the Swedish Chamber of Commerce didn't know what to show there. So someone came up with the idea that let's take a Dala horse and show it in New York. And that was a huge success, I would say. At least I have read about it. And that the positive thing with the horses, in all different cultures, a horse stands for loyalty, friendship, a good friend, I would say. So it's so good, it's so easy to give away a horse. It's a perfect symbol in some way. And before New York, nobody knew, not even in Sweden, outside Dala, nobody knows what it was. So that was the beginning. And my personal first experience, that was 2010, but that's meeting the customers at our shops. We're having Vasaloppet coming in with the customers. Have anybody of you been to Nils, to the factory? 1, 2, 3, at least 3, 4 there. They have 300,000 visitors every year at that place. And as I told you last week, I cried twice. First when I broke my eardrum. The other day I woke up and looked at the news. You can't see this, but it's Prince William from England together with Kate Middleton. They did an informal meeting with the King House in Sweden. And when they went out walking, they went to a store showing a Dala horse, and that's coming from us. I was crying. I took this picture on the internet, and my biggest wish was that you could push directly into our web store. But that was amazing. We are trying to not be out at different exhibitions anymore now, because it costs so much. If we are going, we have been to South Korea, we are sending at least 3 persons, then we make sure that they are paid from the Swedish Chamber of Commerce. It's fun to be out traveling in the world, but somewhere you must look at the business also. Is it worth it? But just because the brand is so strong now, I don't think we need to do the job now any longer, to be out at the exhibitions. If we do that, we have always a partner that's asking us to follow them. Oh.
Thanks. Gary, how about yours? What was your first exporting and how did you manage to land that?
Well, I was with another company at that time, and we were calling on a medical company in Maple Grove called SciMed Life. They were acquired by a company called Boston Scientific, and Boston Scientific was about 5 times the size of SciMed. And they had manufacturing facilities in Ireland that made stents for them. And we were awarded the business, and we worked with them for probably 3-4 years. And it was interesting to begin with because you really don't understand the international business and delivery, and that was one of the biggest things is transportation and getting things to their facility that have to be sterilized and they have to be ready to go into the stents into the packaging lines and things like that. And over the years we became, they were very cooperative, they were very welcoming, and it was just like they were a customer in Madison, Wisconsin. After a while, we had a great relationship. We would have reciprocal meetings. We'd go over there and have a quarterly meeting. They'd come over to the United States, and we would have meetings with them, and we really worked out all the problems, and it became a really good relationship. So that was my first venture into the international world.
So, Don, same question. How did you start exporting? And
Well, I was working as a consultant for another company that was dealing with microwave popcorn equipment. They were generally rebuilding the old style popcorn equipment, and then I got working for them and designed some new equipment, designed a bag former for them, which is the previous version of this one, much slower machine, but That company sold about 45 of those, I think, in 15 countries. So I got to know a few of the people around the world. And now, after we've been dealing with some exclusive rights issues on the equipment that's just expiring, so we'll have a better chance to go out and export now. We could do a little bit of it. So some of the companies that we either contacted or had inquiries from, or have sold equipment have been from contacts through my previous venture as a consultant.
And Marty, same question. How did you start exporting?
Well, that was very easy. Is this on? I forgot to turn it off, I guess. That was very easy. As I said earlier, when we introduced our family, the first members of our family and joint products, I went over to Becker Orthopedic Appliance Company and put it in their hands, and they export. About 30% of our products are exported, but it's through them. They're the exporter. So that was very easy. Following that, some years later, we started to be interested in exporting, distributing a product called Shear Band, which is an adhesive material that eliminates rubbing. If you're having rubbing problems in your shoes, that's the main use, and it eliminates the tendency for blisters and things like that. At any rate, we wanted to sell that in Europe, and so we had to get CE marking on our products, and that was a bit of a job. You have to learn about foreign requirements and things like that, but it went pretty good, and we have no problems now. We have distributors in the United Kingdom and Germany and Australia, Japan, and so on.
When I was a kid, my dad was a business person, and he used to always say, you learn something from everything you do. Sometimes it's what to do, and sometimes it's what not to do, but you pick up something everywhere. I think we'll go down the row and ask, what is one of the biggest international business lessons learned that you picked up, whether it's what to do, what not to do, what to look out for? And why don't we start with Don on that?
Well, I think, to me, part of the problem with, at least in our line of equipment, is the technical part of it, and the language barrier is extremely difficult to deal with. When I installed the machine in Spain, they had hired a translator, and he was fantastic. Because there are certain types of translation that will work, to a level. But this fellow understood the technical parts of things. In fact, when I was going through the training on the machine, I went through everything and told one shift, and then he would translate it and pass it on to the employees there. When it came to the second shift, he started, and I said, just do it. So it made it extremely easy. I haven't had that same luxury in going back there a couple times since. And another thing that we wind up, that's somewhat interesting in different countries, even on our control panels, some require that they're in different language. And translation doesn't always work right. And for example, just an interesting example. There's a process on a machine with a motor called a servo motor that's very position specific. And one of the processes when you first turn it on is called homing. That motor goes to a certain position and now it's home. Well, when we looked up the translation, I don't even remember where it was, we looked up the translation, it translated into family. Okay, so I guess not directly answering your question, but I think that was probably one of our biggest headaches and trying to write manuals and that sort of thing. We typically say manual, they're going to get manual in English, and they have to take care of it from there. But during installation and during sales part is to be able to communicate the things. Some of the other things, I guess, in terms of trying to make sure that all the funding gets through correctly, that can be a headache. Back when I was working for the consulting, or when I was consulting for this other company, we made a machine that went overseas. And back at that time, the terms were generally 30% down, 30% in the middle of the project, 30% prior to shipment, and 10% upon satisfaction of the machine. Well, the company that I was consulting for knew that this company was notorious for not making the last payment. So we put a bug in the program so that after a number of days, 70 or 80 days, the machine stopped. Got the money really quick. They'd call and say they have problem with machines, so they'd say, well, we'll take a look at it, because some of these machines now, in today's world, we can tie right into our machines, wherever they are, and see what's going on with our computers, so we can see what's happening in the program. We'll say, do this, do that, we can see what happens. So we went through this a few times with them, saying, try this. No, that didn't work. So we'll tell them to do something else. And, we knew all along what it was. So about 4 or 5 hours later, all we had to do was flip a bit, and the problem was taken care of. By that time, we had money.
First of all, when we were listening to Bill here, I think he said a lot of truth. Hire immigrants. That's a very good way to understand different cultures. There is a huge difference, even between Sweden and the US, in the way we're doing businesses. We have the GATT, General Agreement, Terms and Tariffs, but that doesn't explain the difference in the cultures. And to hire an immigrant, you get that access to the new culture for free, I would say. So it was a very good message you sent to us there. I think that's a key success factor to have immigrants in the companies. And then focusing on direct sales. Keep all agents. They're just stealing half their margins. Have some self-esteem and do your business by yourself. That's a good way, and that's exactly what we have done with the Dala horses now. We are not trying to have too many agents around in the world that are selling their horses. We want to do it by ourselves. And in that way, you must go digital. The digitalization is really, really important. If you don't do that now, you are out of business in the near future, I would say. I think that's my most important message.
Well, I'd like to start back to what I really enjoyed the most, which was listening to patients, hearing what their problems were, what their aspirations were, and then using my knowledge of technology and biomechanics, whether it was gait or whatever it was, excuse me, to solve those problems and to make those wishes come true. It's so much fun, so much fun. And listening to the patients and then thinking, innovating was the way to solve those problems. And so we became, even after we started developing products, we were very, very much a technology-driven company. There was very little sales and marketing expertise, almost none. And I think that my biggest mistake probably was thinking that technical, biomechanical things, innovation, technology innovation would carry the day. Isn't it obvious that this solves the problem? But it's not enough. You need sales and marketing people to get the word out there. And one of the things we were doing all the way along, right, but didn't really make the best use of it, was going to international exhibitions and scientific programs and things like that. There's so much business to business done at these big expositions. We've corrected that deficit a few years ago, and we have gone to, for instance, international sports exhibitions in Germany, where there are thousands of companies displaying their goods, and most of the business that occurs there is business to business. It's not customers coming in that are interested in new equipment. It's businesses that are interested in what's going on in that industry. And there's also a big meeting in orthotics, prosthetics, and rehab technology going on in Germany, huge every couple of years. And I think that's another thing that is very important if you want to export. If you've got some, get out to those international meetings and exhibitions and learn what you can about the industry you're trying to export into, or in some cases, the companies that might be able to supply you with some things that you need. I think that's about it.
I think the one big thing that we've learned is dealing in foreign markets is that you have to have the right representation. And I think we've achieved that over the years. These people need to know what's the scope of our business, what's the quality demands of our business, what the delivery demands are, and things like that. And as I said, we've just recently added 2 more agents in China to represent us. And also, you need to be aware of costs. Our international rep down in Minneapolis, we were planning for 2019, and he just sent in a report that China's printing costs have risen 15% over the past year or so. So he has just recently returned, met with groups in India, Indonesia, and Vietnam, and all of their pricing. I think Indonesia was a little bit more expensive, a little less expensive than China. India was very aggressive, and Vietnam was really aggressive. So we may be moving all of the business that we have to do over there to one of these countries. Locally, or with what we're doing domestically, is there are seminars or trade shows, if you will, that we deal with distributors who have wide networks of customers and opportunities for various businesses. We were just in one in San Antonio, Texas, where you meet with representatives from various businesses, and you have an audience with them for 20 minutes of undivided attention to sell your products. And we had representatives from Canada, United States, and Mexico there. So it was our first foray into this world, but it seems to be with the results that we're seeing, I think it's something we're going to continue to do in the future. So it gives you a real chance to, instead of going to a trade show where everybody's walking up and you get about 30 seconds to try and sell your product, this is focused right on who you are and what they need. So that was very successful.
We're starting to come down towards the end of our time. Is there anybody who has a question? Lonnie, raise your hand. Lonnie is picking up slips of paper if anybody has a question. what has the workforce looked like for your business? Any obstacles? If so, what did you do to resolve this? And how many employees do you currently have? And we'll just kind of go briefly down the table. Why don't we start on the end with Gary and work our way this way? Workforce issues and how many employees do you have?
Workforce issue we have is our location is a little in some cases, but with the loss of this manufacturing of our Valentine kits, we've had to make some cutbacks, and unfortunately, some people lost their jobs. And so what we're regrouping, because that's the last thing you want to do is lose good workforce, because it's so difficult to replace workers today. It's one of our biggest problems is trying to find people that are capable and want to work and make a career out of the printing and packaging business.
Well, I've been very lucky. I've never had any problems hiring people. I've always been lucky hiring wonderful people, and they stay. And so I've never had any workforce problems.
I don't know how interesting it is for you to hear from Sweden how it is, but we have serious problems to find competence, though I would say so, especially when you are far out from the big cities. It's getting better and better now when we're having more and more students into universities and things like that. But in some way, I think we must, in the future, we must increase all salaries to get people to move back in the landsbygd, what's the name of landsbygd? Rural areas, of course, yes. Then I wanted to have a connection to Vasaloppet also. I think exports and doing business abroad, it's likely to ski Vasaloppet. Our Vasaloppet is 90K, and you can't be too eager in the beginning. It's a long race. Save your energy, of course. Be smart. And you don't win the race in the first hill. Then you're out of business. So take it easy, though. Hire immigrants. Understand different culture all around the world. If I did look at internet yesterday, do you know the biggest city in China? Which one is that? I can guess nobody can have the right answer. Xinjiang, wasn't it? Xinjiang. 30 million inhabitants. That's the world's biggest city. And we didn't even know it. I didn't know it. The world is big out there. Yes, I pass forward.
First question I have is, how can you be that eager at the beginning of the Vasaloppet? I skied it once, and going up that first hill, you're in the middle of a crowd that's so thick, I got to the top of the hill, and so I saw the 86K marker. It was 9 o'clock. It started at 7. For those of you who aren't skiers, that's a long time for 4Ks. At any rate, I have a total of 12 employees, and I have a group of the best employees. Any other employer would die for the people that I have. They're just absolutely fantastic, and I hope that I can keep them as long as possible. When I go out to other companies and I hear people talk about trying, in various other parts of the United States especially, I hear people talk about they can't get employees, that they'll hire people that will come in, wait and work until they get their first check and then not show up again, or that they've had to reduce the levels of drug tests to get enough employees. So it is a huge problem, and I just feel extremely fortunate to have the group of people that I have.
Had a few other questions. These were specific to members on our panel. Gary, tell us about your printing of the Super Bowl program cover. And did you get free tickets?
There's no tickets, and the wrong helmets were on the cover once again.
Oh, no.
That was very painful. Although we did a make-ready run, and we put the Vikings logo on there, along with the Patriots, so there's 2 losers. I think that's about as close as we're ever going to get to a Super Bowl, I hate to say it. That was we had lost the business last year to another printing company, and apparently those results weren't up to what they were expecting, so we got it back again this year. But the program itself is made on a laser etched foil, and one thing we learned about that is you can't take it through your carry-on because it sets off the metal detector. We didn't have a disclaimer to say you should pack this in your suitcase, so some of these people got stopped. Of course, one had a seat that he stole from the stadium. That usually starts, we started dealing with the customer in October, and he deals exclusively with the NFL. Then they present the artwork to him, and then he has to go through his process with his laser treatments to basically highlight. Like this year, the highlight was the Lombardi Trophy. That really was supposed to have a 3D effect. So it's very expensive material, and so we only get X amount of sheets. So we better not make any mistakes. And we proved that over the last 10 years, I guess, that the amount that he gives us, we're always successful with. But we have our pre-press manager come in right after the game, and he puts the logos on the artwork. And we were on press this year at 5:30, and that was supposed to ship out that afternoon, and then we got that giant snowstorm. So a lot of panic with the company that was going to put the cuts in it, as we call it, all the pages. So finally got there on Tuesday, and they worked overtime and got the program put together. So we had another successful year, and it's, again, we have such great employees that care so much that it makes these things happen for us. That's why we continue to work with customers year after year.
Next question.
Did I answer that question?
Yeah. Next question's for Don. Where does your popcorn come from? And don't say from the field.
That's where it comes from. I'm assuming you're talking about our current venture. We're involved with another fellow from Piers, Minnesota. He's the marketing type of guy, and he has developed it's a cold pressed sunflower oil, which is in our popcorn. So at this point, the popcorn itself comes from a place in Kansas that we can contract corn from. We may be trying to experiment a little bit up here, although in Minnesota, at least here, southern Minnesota maybe, but the problem with popcorn is the maturity of the corn is fine, but you just about have to have it field dried down to 15% moisture. And that is sometimes difficult to do, and drying, apparently, and I don't know all the details of it, but drying combine or drying popcorn in a corn dryer apparently is not particularly successful. You might expand the corn by quite a bit.
And our final question is for our honored guest from Sweden, Jonas. What does Dala mean? What does Dala, for Dala horse? What does Dala mean?
Dala horse is, Dalarna is a region in Sweden. It's around 280,000 inhabitants in that region, and if you're coming to Sweden, you must visit Dalarna. To not go to Dalarna is like to go to a wedding without seeing the bride. Per here and me, we live in Dalarna. In Dalarna, all houses, almost all, I'm lying a little, are red with white corners. You have seen the pictures maybe. Mm-hmm. It was in Dalarna that Gustav Eriksson talked to us guys up in Dalarna, and we helped him to kick out the Danish people from the castle in Stockholm. So we are good guys up there.